It's time to learn geography now!
Hey everyone, I'm your host Barbs. Today we cover our first Central Asian country.
Well, I mean, doesn't Afghanistan kind of count?
Doesn't Afghanistan kind of... Yeah. Kazakhstan is cool because it's like the country that melts both Europe and East Asia together in a very unique way. You can even kind of tell just by looking at the people. It's like they look kind of Asian, but then you're not sure because some of them have like light Caucasian features. I feel you, Kazakhstan. I've been getting that my whole life. Now, Turkey may be the bridge between Europe and Asia if you consider the Middle East Asia, but Kazakhstan is like the bridge between Europe and East Asia. First of all, Kazakhstan is located in Central Asia, surrounded by 5 other countries. So close to Mongolia, but a 20-mile wide corridor separates them, with a coast on the northeast sides of the Caspian Sea, where their only seaport Aktau is located. It is the world's largest landlocked country, 9th largest in the world at nearly 1 million square kilometers. Like seriously, the country's distance is like the same from London to Istanbul. Speaking of which, the longest road in Europe, the E40, extends over 5,300 miles, all the way from Calais, France to Ritter, Kazakhstan. Cute. The country is divided into 14 regions, or Oblystar, with the capital Astana located in the Akmola region. Nonetheless, Almaty in the south is actually the largest city, with Skimkent rounding out number 3. And all 3 of these cities have the busiest airports in Kazakhstan. Now, Kazakhstan was part of the former USSR prior to independence, so you see kind of like leftover disputes when it comes to territorial anomalies. In the Caspian Sea, Kazakhstan has a little dispute with Russia over the marshy Ukantny Island, as well as the Zhestki and Malizhemchushny sandbanks, known for being located above an offshore oil-producing zone. Then we have that little dispute with Uzbekistan over the Vozrojdeniya Island, which is now a peninsula due to the drying up of the Aral Sea. The only other strange territorial anomaly would probably be the famous Baikonur Cosmodrome. This is the site where the first launch of the first satellite Sputnik and the first manned orbital flight by Yuri Gagarin happened. This place is leased to Russia until 2050, and today you will need a Russian visa if you want to visit, unless you're lucky enough to score a guided tour. Nonetheless, there are over 27,000 ancient monuments throughout Kazakhstan. Places of interest might include things like the Monument of Independence, the Pyramid of Peace and Harmony, the Issyk Burial Mound with the Golden Man, the Soyuz 11 Memorial, Khan Shatyr, the tallest tent in the world, Bayterak Tower, Medu, the world's highest skating rink, Ascension Cathedral, Aristan Bab Mausoleum, the National Museum of Kazakhstan, the Museum of Folk Music, Fountain Circus, Koktobe Hill Recreational Center with rides and attractions, and a Beatles monument, Nur Astana Mosque, and the Triumphal Arch of Mangilik El. But just don't go to Semipalatinsk, it's like worse than Chernobyl. Yeah, that was a hard blow to their land, which is otherwise pretty majestic. The country is generally flat with massive steppes and plains like the Caspian Depression, the Turgai Valley, and the Kazakh uplands, which compose the majority of the country's land makeup. In the east and southeast, you get the mountains along the Altai and Tian Shan ranges, the highest mountain being Khan Tengri, which again is like the Roraima of Central Asia as it acts as a tri-point border between them, China, and Kyrgyzstan. Rivers cross the country, the longest one being the Irtysh River, which flows through the northeast, shared with Russia and China, dangerously close to the radioactive fallout from Semipalatinsk. However, the Ishim River is more important as it passes through the capital Astana. Then you get the strange largest lake, Balkhash, because the western half of it is freshwater and the east is saltwater. Strange, huh? And that's not even half the strange. Then you have things like the Valley of Balls.
Valley.
With strange spherical eroded boulders averaging around 3 to 4 meters wide. You have this strange submerged forest, Tamgali Gorge, Chardon Canyon, and the most notable natural landmark, the drying Aral Sea. It was made by diverting water in the former Soviet times, and now you can see a strange post-apocalyptic setting with rusting abandoned ships and sea vessels in a dry grassland as Bactrian camels graze quietly in the distance. Kazakhstan is loaded with natural resources. About 100 of the elements on the periodic table can be found mined in Kazakhstan. They take 12th place in oil reserves, and they are in the top 20 of gas reserves, most of which center around the 970 square mile Tengiz oil field, which is one of the largest in the world, making it the country's largest export oil, which in return makes them the largest economy in Central Asia as they hold about 60% of the entire region's GDP. It's also said that apples originated in Kazakhstan. The name of the city Almaty actually translates to the place of many apples. You can even find many wild apple trees and forests all across Kazakhstan. The country has about 18.1 million people and has about 6 people per square kilometer. The country is about 67% ethnically Kazakh, whereas about 20% are Russians, and the rest are made up of other groups, mostly Turkic peoples like Uzbeks, Uyghurs, and other groups like Chechens, Ukrainians, Tartars, and Poles. They use the Kazakhstani tenge as their currency, they use the Type-C plug outlet, and they drive on the right side of the road. Now let's talk about the largest indigenous people group. What exactly is a Kazakh? Well, today that question is a lot harder to answer than what it may have been 1,000 years ago. In the shortest way, Kazakhs are classified as a Turkic people group, not Turkish, Turkic. There's a difference, in which they share the same linguistic structure as many other countries and people groups across Asia and Europe. As a Turkic country, Kazakhs are related to and can kind of understand the speech of their other Turkic neighbors that extend as far as the frozen Arctic tundras of northeast Russia to the Black Sea with Turkey and the Gagauz people in that strange autonomous unit in Moldova. Scythians, Turkic-speaking Mongol tribes arrive. Huns invade. Arabic Karachanid Turks come in and introduce Islam. Tribal powers fight for control. Hittians invade. Timur Ileng builds an empire. Kazakhs break away from the Uzbek Khanate. Zungar people invade. Russians come in and help. Then the Russians kind of take over and rule them. Khan Kene revolts against Russians unsuccessfully. Sons of new Russians and Ukrainians flock in to work. Kazakhs resist military draft in World War I. They become an autonomous republic in the USSR. Russian influence for decades. Independence in 1991. Capital is moved. Sons of new Kazakhs migrate back to Kazakhstan and ethnic Russians move out, making Kazakhs a majority in their own country again. Nazarbayev becomes their only president. A bunch of oil gas pipeline controversy. And here we are today. By the way, they celebrate 3 different New Years: Gregorian, Nariz spring equinox, and the Julian calendar. They have so many horse-related festivals and games like pick up the napkin and steal the woman on a horse, and if you can't, she gets to beat you with a whip game. Aside from all that, Kazakhs are known for excelling in sports like weightlifting, cycling, and ice hockey. Some notable people from Kazakhstan might include people like cyclist Alexandre Vinokurov, Sabina Altinbekova, Timur Bekmambetov, Gennady Golovkin, Denis Ten, Abay Kunanbayuli, Ken Alibek, Abilay Khan, Olja Suleimanov, Marat Zhlambayev, and Shukrat Mitalipov. Kazakhstan is like the kingpin big brother of Central Asia. If you want to talk to any of the other former Soviet republics, you usually got to start here first. Now, they generally get along with other Turkic and Russian-speaking countries. However, Central Asia is kind of like the Balkans, which it's like a family with a bit of dysfunction. Turkmenistan is like the angry brother that isolates himself, and Uzbekistan is like the angry brother that argues with all the other brothers. Kyrgyzstan is like the little brother that they love, but they keep asking them for money. Tajikistan is like the distant cousin that speaks a Persian-based language. Turkey, Mongolia, and South Korea are like faraway, distant, close friends that share the same Turkic and Mongoloid history and culture as well. They've established great trade deals. Tons of Koreans seem to love moving to Kazakhstan. The US was the first place to recognize them as a state after independence, and they've been jumping in on investments. But when it comes to their best friends, most Kazakh people I've talked to have said Russia. Although certain seasons of controversy have existed, overall, Russia has not only been close in customs unions, they and Belarus share a free trade agreement, but in almost every other level of diplomacy, they get along well. They both speak Russian, they both love Russian food and TV shows, and even though Kazakhstan is trying to wean itself off the Russian influence to resurge a more Kazakh identity, they can't help but cling on to certain aspects that were so deeply ingrained in their history from the Russians. In conclusion, Kazakhstan is a country that is full of East Asian mixed, horse-loving, Muslim majority identifying, Russian-speaking, government controversifying, but moving forward with resource extracting country. That was a fun episode. Kazakhstan, all the wonderful info we just learned. Can't you? That was so I think that's the worst pun I've ever made in this entire series. Stay tuned. Kenya is coming up next.